refresh again. It's working perfectly. Now our lazy image is now working. You can load as many pictures as you want. I can decide to load 50 or 100. Do load 1000. Refresh. As you can see, it's lazy loading. Amazing. Let me do 1000 image. Let me do 1000 image. I'm very sure it won't crash the system. Now as you can see, can you see it now? It's lazy loading it real time. Can you see? Amazing. That's 1000 images. Let me do 3000 images. Hey guys, welcome to my channel. In today's tutorial, you're going to be learning how to lazy load an image in JavaScript using PHP format. So we are going to be lazy loading our image on our PHP file using JavaScript intersection observer. So before we do that, let's try to loop through an image of about 100. Let's try to loop it through and see how it is then before we introduce in the lazy loading. So to do that, I'll be writing a default HTML file on my index page. So HTML5, okay, and in this title I'm going to name my title lazy loader. So image lazy loading, okay, image lazy loading with JavaScript. So JavaScript in PHP, yeah. Okay, so image lazy loading in JavaScript in PHP. So for a test, let's write h1, copying this title into the h1. So let's do this. Okay, save it, go to your browser and let's refresh the page. Okay, now as you can see, I have it here, image lazy loading with what? JavaScript in PHP. So for us to make a test image, we have to pass a lot of images to process this test. So to do that, I'm going to be getting a lorem image on the internet. So I'm going to search for lorem pics. So search lorem pics from your computer, click on the first result. So you are going to be given this URL. Okay, so in this URL we are going to be copying this very first URL, which is 200 by 300. Let me click on it. So it's going to automatically generate some images for us. Let's try to capture a bigger version of it. Sorry, back. Okay, so copy this URL, Ctrl C. Okay, paste it here. Now let's give it a width of 1000 and an height of 1000. Okay, enter. Good. Now as you can see, it takes a while to load. So now we are going to be using that format in order to know if our lazy loading is working or not. So this 1000 format is what we're going to be using. So 1000. So this 1000 data we copied, and we are going to move down to our PHP code editor where we are editing our page. So we are going to scroll down. And add an HR to the H1. So I'm going to introduce HR. Now inside my HR, I'm going to introduce RMG. Okay, so this RMG is going to pass the link I copied, which is 1000. So let me close the sidebar for now. We don't need the sidebar. Okay, so this is the link I copied from the pixom.photos. So we are having 1000 width and 1000 height. So let me save it now and go back to the browser, refresh. What do we get? Well, we get a very big size of an image. So let's try to change the height and the width. So let me set the height to 100. Let's use 100, refresh. Okay, so we have it as 100 here. Now, as you can see, it takes a while to load. Yeah, it takes a while to load. So now this is the time the image lazy loading is going to come in. But before it comes in, let's try to loop through using PHP. So I'm going to be looping through this image using I'm going to be looping through this image using PHP. So to do that, we print in our PHP syntax on the body. Then we introduce for loop. So let's introduce for loop. So for I equals to 0 and I, if I is less than how many? So if it's less than or is equals to let's dump 20. If it's less than or is equals to 20, else do more of it, which is C plus, which is I plus plus. So I'm going to close the statement over here, then pass the data here. Okay, so pasting the image. Good. So I save it, refresh. What do we have? Okay, we have so many of it. Fine. We are doing well. Now all these images, now as you can see, it takes a while to load. If you are trying to load your image from your local server, let's say you have a live website and you're trying to get the image from your directory, your folder. So for you to print the or for you to load the image on your web page, if a user is trying to access the image and the file size is about 1000 or 1 megabytes, just about the size of the file that you are trying to access. So you can try to use the lazy loading format to at least keep the user waiting while the file is being processed on our server. So that's what we're going to be doing now. So I'll be creating the JavaScript function now below the body rather. So below the body, just after the image tags, after the for each loop. So at the bottom down here, you are going to introduce your script. Okay, script, and inside this script we are going to make a check. We need to first of all check if the browser supports intersection observer, because we are going to be using intersection observer to observe the image visibility. I mean the image the image like a status, as this image gets the final URL of this picture or is still getting. So once it's still getting, it's not going to be functional, but once the image source file is ready, then it's going to pick it immediately. Okay, so let's try to do that now. So I'm going to be checking. So I'm going to say if let me open the if statement. Now inside this if statement, you are going to pass in an intersection observer in a string format. So intersection observer, yes. So you are going to check if intersection observer is in the browser. Okay, if it's in the browser, then it's going to log. Let's just log something now. Log there. Okay, the else log not. Okay, so if it's there, it's going to log the there, and if it's not, it's going to log not. So let's go to the browser, open our console.log F12. Okay, go to the console, close this update area. Okay, refresh the browser. As you can see, it says what there. Actually, most browser will tell you that it's actually installed. So most of the modern browser has the intersection observer. So delete the else statement because we don't need it. Okay, so after deleting that, then the next thing to do is to target our image tag. So the image tag will be targeted. So in order for us to target the image tag, we're going to be using query selector. So we're going to select all images on our browser using query selector. Now enter to the script, then let's generate a variable. So let's lazy images, because it's in an array. We're going to gather all those images in an array. So let's lazy image, then slicing dot call. Then we're going to call in all the documents dot query selector or everything that has image tag. So img. So we are going to be calling everything that has img, which is this tag, image tag, and binding everything into an array using the query selector or into the images variable. So now let's log this guy. So log. So let's log it. Let's see what we are getting. So refresh. As you can see my log. Let me zoom in my log so you discover the logging of the images. As you can see, all those images has been logged into the right array, into the paths. Now we have 20. This is the 20. Now as you can see, it's working perfectly. Okay, so let me zoom out my console. Let me zoom out my console so that I'm going to have something good. Okay, good. Okay, now our images is working. Our lazy images is being pushed. Every image on this browser is being pushed down to our lazy images. So this is the array, and we slice in every one of it into this guy, into this lazy images variable that we defined in this place. Okay, so after checking if intersection observer is in the window, then once it's there, the next thing to do is to declare a another variable lazy image observer. So we are going to declare this variable now. So I'm going to say let the real observer itself. So lazy image, not images, this time around is just image, lazy image observer. So don't forget, this is just a normal variable. So let me just do something else. Let observer. So you're not going to think is what's it called? Is a unique variable. It's just a regular variable. So let observer is equals to the new intersection observer. Don't forget what we check inside the window. So new intersection observer. Now inside this observer, we are going to pass in a function. So this is the function we will passing into this intersection observer. Now inside the intersection observer, it will receive two parameters, the entries and the observer. Don't forget the entries and the observer. So the entries and the observer will be accepted by the parameter, by the function. So we need to pass in the entries and also the observer. So now let's pass in variable entry. So entries, comma, we have passed in the entries. The next thing to pass is the observer. So we pass in the entries. Now this is the entries, and also we have the observer. So after passing the two parameter into the intersection observer, the next thing to do is to declare a new variable image. So let's lazy image, now single image. So let's lazy image. Sorry. Before we declare the variable image, we need to first of all check all the entries inside this intersection observer, because we already passed in the entries. So sorry. Now let's first of all check if if each of the elements is actually valid. So in order to do that, we are going to be using for each loop of JavaScript. So I'm going to say entries. So entries, this entries over here. So entries dot for each dot for each of the elements. So for each of the elements, passing JavaScript function and pushing the entry in one item. This is the entry over here. So inside this function, we are going to drop down the callback. So inside this callback, we are going to be accepting all the entry of each element inside this for each looping. Okay, so now let's check if this entry is actually valid, if it's intersecting in the browser. Okay, so I will copy this entry now, and I'm going to say if entry is intersecting is it intersecting or not? So if it's intersecting, that means it's a valid is a valid image tag that has the required data that we need. Okay, so is what is intersecting. After doing that, the next thing to do is to declare let lazy image. So let lazy, not images, now is now image, because we have what, we have listened to it. So let lazy image equals to entry dot dot target. So we need to get the target, that means the HTML content itself. So let lazy image is equals to what, entry dot what, target. Now we're going to say lazy image dot source src is equals to what, lazy image dot data dot source. Now we need to pass in the URL we need to be we need to apply to this data. So for now, the source will be the loading, while that one will be the data we are passing. So let's first of all close this. Let's comment it to this area, and let's log this guy, or let's even log this source. Let's log our current source. So you're going to see that everything is working. So let's log our source. So lazy image dot source log. Okay, refresh. Is it working? Okay, still loading. Is it okay? Sorry. Okay, sorry, we did not run this function, that's why it's not working. So we need to run this function now, this intersection observer function. We need to run it in order for it to work. So now I'm going to scroll up to where I start my if is inside the browser. Now this is the guy here. So this observer now ends in this place. So I'm going to close the statement, go down after the statement has been closed, then I'm going to what, lazy load all the images again. So I'm going to lazy load everything again. So I'm going to say lazy images. I'll copy these lazy images, so I'll dump it. Let me comment above this place. So loop through all images. Okay, so lazy load what, lazy, now sorry, lazy images is the what, is the variable we have here. So lazy images, I will copy it, lazy images, then is equals to what, for each loop, then pass in the what, your callback, pass in your callback, then call this what, lazy image. Now inside your callback, return what, return the lazy image you are calling for. So now the observer that you declared the last time, we need to pass it inside. So let's push our observer. This is our observer. So push the observer and dump it into this place. Dot observe. Good. So we need to observe it. So what are we observing? We are observing every of these images. Good. Okay, so observer dot what, observe, observing what, lazy images. Okay, if we save it now, let's log the source and let's see if it's actually working. So we are going to log the source of every image we are observing. Now as you can see, everything is the same thing. It's log what, 21. That's amazing. That's great. Okay, so now the next thing we are going to do now is to push in our custom attributes. So we need to pass some custom attributes to our image tag HTML. Okay, so we are going to be pushing a new attribute now. So attribute data source, data set source, data set, that is data set source, the source of the data set. So we are going to pass in data set source. Okay, so we cut out from there and paste it here, data set source, and also data set source set. So data set, then source set, data set source set. Okay, so data set, then src, then set. Then we're going to paste in the URL again over here. So now this our source that we are looking at in this place. We need to pass in a loading and just a basic loading image on your server. So my local server, I'm going to be adding a loading image on my local server. So to do that, I will go to my browser. Let me refer this place. As you can see, there's nothing loading for us in this place. So I'll go to my local server now and I'll open loading.io. So you can go to the URL too. So let's generate a loading image. So loading.io. So in this place you can generate any image of your choice. So you can pick anyone you actually care for. So let me go for this one. I love this one. So change the background to transparent. So transparent background. What else? I love these images. So what else do I want to add? Let me increase the speed. It's too much. Okay, this speed is good. The size is too big. Let me reduce the size. Okay, so let me change the default type to GIF. Now it's not in GIF. Then I'm going to log in with my Google. So you can also log in with your Google. So let me log in with my Google. Okay, I'm logged in. So let me click on the GIF again. Then free download. So you wait for the GIF to build. So it's currently building now. It's done building. So download it and save it to your path. So I will locate my path now. PHP loading, lazy load. Okay, in this lazy load PHP, I'm going to change this name to loading. So let me change the name to loading, and I'm going to add a new path as img. Inside this img, I'm going to add the loading into it. Okay, so I will take out the loading.io, then go back to my coding area, then pass in the folder, my lazy loading images. Then I'm going to pass loading.gif. Okay, save it, go back to the browser, refresh. What do we have? We have something like this. So now, as we have something like this now, that means we are getting ready. Good. So I'm going to hide my sidebar now. Then the next thing to do that is very, very important, we need to pass in a class so that we can unobserve each of the particular class we are accepting. So it's not recommended you use an HTML tag or HTML element name directly, because if you have a logo on your site or you have other things related, so you can just define a class so that it's going to look more unique. Remember, don't use an ID, you need to pass the class. So class of lazy loading or lazy, you can just pass the class of lazy. Let's pass the class of lazy. So we're going to access it with .lazy. So in order to capture it, I'm going to say, okay, enter into img element and locate any class with lazy. So now I point my img, that is HTML element img, then I target my .lazy, any class, any image element that has a class of lazy. That is what I target over here. So in case you don't understand, you can comment below in this video. I will explain to you better. Okay, so after doing that, scroll to where you have your console.log, delete this guy. So the next thing to do now is to target our image. Our image has been targeted here. So you are going to say lazy image dot source. So we need to target this source. So we want to change it from loading to the real picture that we are seeing in this place. So lazy image dot source is equals to what? Lazy image dot dataset dot src dot source. Can you see it now? Lazy image from here, getting the attribute dataset and picking the source from it. After doing that, we duplicate this line again and turn this to the source set. Pass in the data sources need to be passed into to the sources. So image source set is equals to lazy image data source dot source set. Okay, so now we successfully pass in our src and also our src set, which is the source set. After doing that, the next thing to do is to capture the what, the image class. So dot class list does what, remove. We need to remove the one we just observed. So we need to remove lazy from this guy once it's been observed, so that it won't be looping throughout your web pages. So you need to remove it once you observe it. Once you are done observing, then the next thing is to remove the class from the lazy, because we are targeting it based on class. So remove class list of what, lazy. After removing that, the next thing is to target the lazy loading, lazy image again. So lazy, after doing that, the next is to capture the observer itself. So observer dot on observe, because we actually observe it from here. That is why we are able to what, to push all this URL, all this source set. So after doing that, since we are done pushing the URL, so it won't duplicate, we unobserve the image, this guy, we unobserve it. Then after unobserving it, that's all. We are done with passing your lazy loading in JavaScript. Okay, so let's go to our browser. Let's refresh. Okay, something is wrong. For not found. Was not found. Get data source sets not found. Data. Okay, so let's go back to our code. Okay, this is the problem. There's an issue looking for the source at custom attributes. It's because we pass in this set. So let's take out the set. Also from this guy. Let's take out the sets. Okay, now save it. Ctrl S. Go back to your browser. Then refresh. Let me go to the console area, refresh. Now as you can see, it's working. Refresh again. It's working perfectly. Now our lazy image is now working. You can load as many pictures as you want. I can decide to load 50 or 100. Do load 1000. Refresh. Now as you can see, it's lazy loading. Amazing. Let me do 1000 image. I'm very sure it won't crash the system. Now as you can see, can you see it now? It's lazy loading neat real time. Can you see? Amazing. That's 1000 images. Let me do 3000 images. 3000 images. Refresh. Wow. Can you see what I'm talking about? It's lazy loading everything. Can you see? Amazing. Okay, so I hope you get a lot from this tutorial. Yeah, I hope you get a lot from it. So thank you for subscribing to our channel, and thank you for following us all this while. So subscribe, share with your friend, and comment any issue related to this tutorial. So comment any problem you are facing, and we are ready to help you. So if you have any further question or any other tutorial you want us to do for you, you can also comment it in this video. We are going to definitely provide a video for you. Okay, thank you so much for this tutorial. Bye.